South Alabama with a come-from-ahead victory over Marshall. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. We will go over Thursday night's action, Wednesday night's action. Wednesday night were a couple of blowouts. Arkansas State wins again. Troy goes into Lafayette and takes down the Cajuns. Honestly, didn't think those two games were worthy. And we kept on doing baseball previews. We'll continue with the baseball previews Saturday and Sunday. Some bonus episodes. We'll come back Monday with basketball, and then we'll do some more baseball stuff as well. JMU wins one on the road. App State stays at. We will recap Arkansas State. What do they won now? 20 in a row at home. And, of course, they're in first place. And Troy does get a win against the Cajuns. But South Alabama with a big ball game against Marshall. And this was a pretty good, and in fact, very good college basketball game. 91-82, South Alabama in overtime. A little bit high scoring in the first half. I didn't think it was that high scoring in the first half. 42-36 at halftime. Jaguars on top. South Alabama leads Marshall 42-36 at half. And South Alabama built, and it kind of blinked, and it went from 5 to 7 point lead to like 12. They got a bucket, they got a turnover, they got another bucket. And all of a sudden it was 60-48. And then you looked up, it was 71-66 Marshall. They went on a 23-6 run. So South Alabama was up by 12 and all of a sudden found themselves down by 5. And for whatever reason, again, they're just not changing the defense. Marshall did a really good job. Didn't shoot the lights out totally. I mean, they only shot 40% completely. From three, they shot less than 30%. They didn't shoot a whole lot of free throws. I'm sure if you're a Marshall fan and maybe watch the game or maybe Marshall, they shoot a lot of threes. They shot 48 threes. When you shoot 48 threes, you're not going to go to the free throw line a lot. They also shoot short jumpers from the baseline, which they were making. So they did a good job of finding the open shots in the zone, and I thought they made more of those than it would have appeared. I didn't think South Alabama made any adjustments. Somewhere along the way, you got to go man-to-man. I mean, you just can't let them shoot open jumpers. You can't do it if they're making them. And that was how Marshall got back in the game because they get a couple of stops. And South Alabama goes cold for just a couple of minutes. And oddly enough, what kept South Alabama in this game and almost cost them at the end was the free throw shooting. At one point in time, South Alabama was 14 of 15 at the line. They finished 27 of 33. And if you look at the stats, that's definitely the difference in this game. South Alabama, 27 of 33 from the line. Marshall only 8 out of 11. But points in the paint is the Jaguars 52 points in the paint to Marshall's 20. I did think, I thought Ormiston was again called for some bogus box out foul on Martin late. And I also thought Martin got away with a over the top foul that was not called that led to the tying bucket to send it to overtime. Again, that's not the reason of the outcome, is what I would tell you. Just a couple of things that I noticed. They do a good job of selling the calls on these box outs that I don't think are fouls. But what can you say? That's a great job by Marshall to get back in this game. It's very easy, as we've seen throughout. When you're on the road and you're down double digits, you can blink and be down by 20 and the ball game is over. All right. And we've seen other teams battle, like Arkansas State went into Marshall, right, and battled and very easily, found themselves down double digits and could have been down a lot more and just wouldn't go away. And at the same time, Marshall at home wouldn't relent that lead and was able to beat Arkansas State at home. In this case, South Alabama wouldn't go away. That's why I called a come-from-ahead victory. They were up 12, found themselves down 5, end up winning by 9. It's overtime, and Marshall went cold in overtime is what happened. Big win for South Alabama. You know, everyone's coming off that bad weekend against the MAC, which doesn't really matter. Again, the shooting wise, honestly, Marshall didn't shoot it all that well, but they still scored 82 points. Well, it was in overtime, Dave. Yeah, but they only scored 5 in overtime. Just an odd ball game. South Alabama doesn't score a lot. They shot it well. And here's the big thing. They kept on taking threes and shouldn't have been. They could not hit a 3. They were 2 of 13. If you want to take that math, they actually hit, I mean, my goodness, 29 of 47. Is that right? That's what they shot from the floor. 29 of 47. So that's like 60%. Unfortunately, they only hit 2 threes, and that's 15%. Of course, these threes are wide open shots, so you can't blame them for taking them. But if you're missing them, stop taking them and just go into the paint. Ormiston had a huge ball game for South Alabama. He has played his way into the starting lineup, 26 points on 11 of 15 shooting, only 1 3-point attempt, which he missed. He did grab 5 rebounds. Let's see here. Barry Dunning Jr., 18 points, 7 rebounds. John Broome had only 4 points, but 8 rebounds. Miles Corey, 17 points and 4 rebounds. Anakili Keelan had 20 points for Marshall to lead the Thundering Herd. Dawson had 18. Did have a costly turnover. Marshall was down 4 at the time, though, with about a minute and a half to go in overtime. And Mingo had 14 for Marshall. And so let's see where we are here. So South Alabama improves to 9-4 in the conference. Marshall drops to 8-5. Let's see where that puts them. So South Alabama is still tied for second, 1 game behind Arkansas State. Oddly enough, remember, they beat Arkansas State. So if they somehow go into Jonesboro and beat them, they'll get the top spot. And it was just a couple of weeks ago that it didn't look like South Alabama was going to have a chance at a top 2 seed, and now they have played their way back into that. Marshall does fall technically way back, right? I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are 6th technically in the Sun Belt. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll go over some more ball games. Only home team that won, I think, was Georgia State on Thursday. So the Sun Belt had some road warriors, including JMU. We will talk about them next, right after I tell you about Factor. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences, every week you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle. Whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto, Plus Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. I love how Factor takes the stress out of meal planning. I recently tried their Protein Plus meals, and they are packed with flavor, kept me full throughout the day. The convenience is unbeatable. No prep, no mess, just great food in minutes. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 off. Use code LockedOnCollege50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code LockedOnCollege50 off at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's continue to see what happened in the Sun Belt. Did catch a little bit of this ball game at the end. Again, South Alabama was late. The other games all started in Eastern time, I guess. Georgia Southern hosting James Madison. And Georgia Southern gave James Madison all they could handle. Remember, James Madison has a relatively easy schedule to wrap things up. The thing is, 4 of their 6 games are on the road. Let's see if they were even favored in this one. I don't even know. Let's see. They were. All right. So there's a good chance that they're going to be favored in every single one. They've only won 2 games on the road until this one. They do win this one 77-72. They have won. Did they win the MAC game? They lost the MAC game, but that only means they've won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Sun Belt games in a row. That's impressive. All right. And again, not the hardest of all schedules. They're at Coastal. They get Georgia State at home. They get Georgia Southern again at home. They finish up at Monroe, and they're at Texas State. The hardest game is the last one, probably at Texas State. Georgia State may be hard because they're prolific offensively, and it depends which defensive team shows up for Georgia State. But they very well, watch out if Arkansas State slips. JMU could very well be that number 1 seed. It is crazy to think that's the case, but that very well may be the case. Quickly, let's go over the box scores here. Let's see here. Xavier Brown, he did return. One of the few guys that returned to JMU after last year's NCAA tournament team. 18 points on 6 of 12 shooting, 6 of 10 from 3. And Bryce Lindsey had 14 points as well. Mark Freeman off the bench in 30 minutes, 26 points. For Georgia Southern, Adante Holyman had 22 points, and Bradley Douglas off of the bench had 10 points for Georgia Southern. JMU improves to 9-4. Georgia Southern drops to 5-8. Let's do Wednesday's action, which included Arkansas State picking up, I believe, their 20th straight home victory, 101-67. Over Southern Miss. Arkansas State improves to 10-3. Southern Miss drops to 5-8. This was a blowout from the get-go, and the best part about this is that the starters didn't play a whole lot. Terrence Ford Jr. played the most, 33 minutes. Pinion played 30, but Kobe Julian 22 minutes, Isaiah Nelson 21, and Taryn Todd 20. That's what you're looking for in 101-67 victory. And Kobe Julian in 22 minutes had 20 points. Joseph Pinion had 15. Isaiah Nelson had 10, right? That's what you want to see. Rashad Marshall had 12 points off the bench, and Darian Ford in 17 minutes off the bench had 14. Very efficient. Good ball game for Arkansas State in a game that was not close. It was 55-36 at the half. Denaje Harris, 11 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Andre Curbelo had 16, and Neftali Alvarez had 15, the guards for Southern Miss, accounting for 31 out of their 67 points. It should be mentioned, the coaching carousel is getting going. All right, my Orange are not any good. I hate to say it, but I'm not sure Adrian Autry is that good of a coach. Brian Hodgson's name is being mentioned. He's from upstate New York, I guess Western New York. Coached with Nate Oates at Buffalo. His name's going to get floated, right? My worlds could collide if that's the case. He's not going to Syracuse next year. That's the thing. Maybe in 2 years, but he's not going next year because Syracuse has got a class, including Kyron Anthony, Carmelo's kid. And so they're not going to fire Autry before Anthony shows up. I don't think. We'll see. I doubt it. But someone put it on Twitter that that's the guy they would go after. So, again, Brian Hodgson signed that big extension. So there's a bigger buyout. Of course, that buyout doesn't kick in until after April 1st. So if he gets a deal somewhere in March, where he most likely would, it doesn't really kick in. Nonetheless, that was floated. I didn't start it. I didn't start it. Someone responded. In fact, I responded to somebody else because I saw his name. All right, and elsewhere on Wednesday night, Troy took care of the Cajuns 74-66. Not much of a ball game. Troy led the Cajuns 29-20 at half, and then rolled 74-56. Miles Rigsby had 19. Thomas Dowd had 19 for the Trojans, and Muta Akil had 19 for the Cajuns, and Jeremiah Evans had 10 for UL off of the bench. We'll see who the Cajuns are going to hire, right? You would think that name would be coming up rather quickly since they've, and ULM also has a job opening, right? Those things should be happening really quickly. Those things should be happening. Do you wait until their teams are done, or do you name it in between the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament? I would get those guys under contract as soon as possible. It's not a distraction. I'm leaving. It's a signed piece of paper. I'll worry about recruiting later. I'm worried about winning now. I'll worry about recruiting later. All right, we'll do the whole pomp and circumstance later, but we'll see when that happens. I don't know. No, we'll see if any of that leaks. We'll see if that is the case. All right, anybody? And then we have some more ball games to get to on. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. We got 3 more games to get to on for Thursday night. So let's take a break. We'll take one more time out. We'll come back. We'll do those final 3 ball games right after I tell you about FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, I did see 1,867 subscribers. We will do bonus episodes of our baseball preseason conversations with our head coaches. We got 8. We'll see if the others get back to me. I don't have a day off until Wednesday. We'll see if we can send out emails early next week to find out. Of course, they are starting. Marshall is starting in Hawaii. Cajuns are at home. I guess, let's see off the top of my head. Old Dominion went down to Georgia Tech, so we'll see what games are getting in and who's not, right? But I do appreciate everybody's support. And again, I got more than half at the first go-around. We'll see if we can get the rest here in the next week or two. All right. Continuing with the college basketball on a Thursday night, Georgia State with a blowout. How about that? Have they had a couple of blowouts the last few games? They beat Old Dominion 97-75. All of a sudden they've won 3 in a row and 4 out of 5. Where'd that come from? They beat Marshall 85-81. They lost to App by just 4 points. They blew out Monroe. They took down Buffalo. And now they've blown out Old Dominion 97-75. I don't know if something's clicked with Georgia State or not, but they are playing better. And it usually comes from the defense. right? Because they don't play great defense, but in this case, 64, 75, and 75 because they have good offense. Usually they're giving up like 94 points to Texas State, or 92 points in a loss to Marshall, or 86 points in a loss to James Madison. But when they're, let's see what they average. Because they do give up, they give up 75 points a game. So this is what they gave up tonight. But that's a good job by Georgia State again. You never know. You just don't want to be at the bottom in the Sun Belt. So you have to play all those games. Let's see here. Georgia State, Cesaria Edwards, 29 points. Tenari Lane had 21. And Zarik Nutter off the bench with 18. For Old Dominion, Sean Dura-Gordon with 21. Robert Davis Jr. with 11, but Jaden Johnson had 12. Georgia State improves to 6-7. Monarchs are 7-6. So let's see where they are. So interesting, because now Old Dominion, what do we say? Marshall was 6th. Old Dominion is 7th. So Texas State and Georgia State are tied for 8th. How far can you move up, right? And again, those tiebreakers are going to play themselves out with South Alabama, Troy, App, and JMU all 9-4, tied for second. 5-way place tied for second place. 5-way. 4 teams. Did I say 5? It's 4 teams. 1, 2, 3, 4 teams. 4-way tie for second place. All right. Let's see what else happened on Thursday night. You did have App State. They stayed hot. They beat Coastal Carolina 64-46. That's more about App State's speed, not scoring a lot of points and holding the other team to very few points. Let's see where Coastal Carolina shot. Coastal Carolina shot 30%. Actually shot pretty good from 3, 6 for 15. But they only made 10 3-pointers. App State didn't even shoot all that well, less than 40%, but went to the line a bunch. 20 out of 26. They out-rebounded Coastal 40-31. And the largest lead was at the end, 18 points, 64-46. Let's see here. Miles State did have a Miles State game, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. CJ Huntley had 17 points and 8 rebounds. For Coastal Carolina, Jordan Battle had 14 points, and Noah Amenhauser had a 10. Coastal in that second 4-way tie for second, they are 9-4. Or App State is 9-4. Coastal Carolina at the bottom, they are 1-12. And one more game to talk about. It is Texas State beats Monroe. Texas State 6-7. Monroe is 2-11. That ball game 72-60. Texas State's been tough to figure out this year. They've just been. You think they're going good, and then they're not. And then they're not going good, and they pull out a win. It's a very weird team. Talon Pope with 22 for the Bobcats. Dylan Dawson had 11. Terrell Morgan had 10. Jalen Bolden had 20 for ULM. Makai Willis had 12, and Colty Young with his 12 points. And Micah Castor had 11. So again, quickly, the standings: Arkansas State 10-3, they're 1. South Alabama, Troy, App State, JMU 9-4, they're all second. Marshall is 6th at 8-5. Old Dominion is 7th at 7-6. Texas State and Georgia State are 8th at 6-7. That would make Georgia Southern Miss, and the Cajuns 10th, 11-12. Monroe is 13th, and Coastal Carolina is 14th. So that's right. Okay. And again, you want to be as high a seed as possible. And again, so one of those second-place teams right now, what you're going to get is one of those second-place teams is not going to get a top 4 seed. That's going to be a problem. And who is going to get that second top 2 seed. South Alabama gets Texas State. It is a huge ball game coming up. They get Texas State, almost a must win on Saturday, because then they're going to Arkansas State on the 19th. And of course, you have this Saturday, right? You have isn't that is that Troy and Arkansas State? 8 p.m. on the Deuce. So that's a huge ball game as well. So that would bring Arkansas State back to the pack. Troy would end up doing South Alabama a favor if that's the case. We'll see how that all plays out. Just hope it's a big crowd. That's what I'd be looking forward to. Looking forward to having a huge crowd. National TV. It is a little bit late, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It is a Saturday night, so they won't be working. I will be working on Sunday, but it is what it is. All right, so again, we'll throw in a couple of the baseball coaches that we did. We still have, let's see here, Georgia Southern, ULM. And I have to figure out, let me see. I actually did it right. We got App State and Arkansas State, and that should be it. An ODU. So we've only put 3 out, right? We put South Alabama, we put Troy and Marshall out. So I got App State, Arkansas State, ODU, Georgia Southern, and ULM to go. So we still got 5 to go, and we'll see if more join us. Hopefully more will join us as those SIDs see the guys who did it, and they feel that it's worthy to do so. So, all right. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Enjoy. Well, it is crossover season. We got basketball. We got baseball opening weekend. And, of course, softball is in full swing, as they say. So have a great weekend. We'll have those a couple bonus episodes Saturday and Sunday. So please be on the lookout for that. We'll see who it is. It doesn't really matter. And we'll have a full recap on Monday's episode of the basketball that was on Saturday. So, again, have a great weekend. Appreciate all the support. Seeing if we can get to 1,900 subscribers sometime soon. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. And, again, have a great weekend. We will talk to you again on Monday.